Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vasam tato jayam udirayet shinvatam swakata krishna punya shravana kirtana hrudayantasto hi abhadrani vidunoti sahritsatam nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama sloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, verse 30, chapter 32, verses 37 and 39. Verse 37. Pravocam bhakti yogasya swarupam te chaturvidham kalasya chavyakta gater yo antardavati jantusu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. My dear mother, I have explained to you the process of devotional service and its identity in 4 different social divisions. I have explained to you as well how eternal time is chasing the living entities, although it is imperceptible to them. Purport. The process of Bhakti Yoga, devotional service, is the main river flowing down towards the sea of the absolute truth. And all the other processes mentioned are just like tributaries. Lord Kapila is summarizing the importance of the process of devotional service. Bhakti Yoga, as described before, is divided into 4 divisions. 3 in the material modes of nature and the 1 in transcendence, which is untinged by the modes of material nature. Devotional service mixed with the modes of material nature is a means for material existence, whereas devotional service without desires for fruitive result and without attempts for empirical philosophical research is pure transcendental devotional service. Verse 38. Jivasya samstrir bhavir avidya karma nirmita yasvanga pravishan atma naveda gatim atmanaha. There are varieties of material existence for the living entity according to the work he performs in ignorance or forgetfulness of his real identity. My dear mother, if anyone enters into that forgetfulness, he is unusable to understand where his movements will end. One who enters into the continuation of material existence, it is very difficult to get out. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes himself or sends his bona fide representative, and he leaves behind scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, so that the living entities hovering in the darkness of nescience may take advantage of instructions. The saintly persons and the spiritual masters and thus be freed. Unless the living entity receive the mercy of the saintly persons, the spiritual master Krishna, it is not possible for him to get out of darkness of material existence by his own endeavor. It is not possible. Verse 39. Naitat kalapyopadishen navinitaya karhichit na shabdaya na binnaya naiva dharma dvajaya cha. Lord Kapila continued, this instruction is not meant for the envious, for agnostics, or for persons who are unclean in their behavior, nor it is for hypocrites. Hypocrites are persons who are proud of material possessions. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I like to seek blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to purify myself, and please forgive me for any shortcomings. So we are in the chapter 32, entanglement in fruitive activities. So just summarize the chapter 32, what we have discussed so far is, it's talking about, different attached workers and detached workers, and how Hiranyagarbha worshippers, go back to, Brahmaloka, and Kapila criticizes the, Sakama karma, and what are the other goals achieved by bhakti, and it talks about jnana. And for last few verses, it talks about how various paths ultimately is to realize the Bhagavan. And in the verse 36, it was talk about how the different spiritual practices by which Lord can be perceived. And people can also, like, by jnana or bhakti, one can find the Lord, but Lord is the one, but even though he appears differently by, how people, practice different activities. And in the coming to the verses 37 to rest of the chapter, it talks about what are the qualification to receive the ultimate knowledge. So coming to the verse 37, now Lord Kapila telling to his mother that, he answered all the questions, 5 to 7. So if you go back, what the Devahuti asked Kapila, 7 questions, and from the chapter 25 to next chapter, Lord Kapila is, giving his teachings and answering all the questions raised by the Devahuti. So if you remember the questions, first questions Devahuti ask is about how, please dispel the illusion. And then Lord Kapila, says that, with Adhyatmika yoga and superiority of the bhakti, then one can come, dispel the illusion. And the next question she asks is about how to attain the bhakti easily. It's bhakti is beyond the modes, and with the Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, one can achieve. That's what Lord Kapila answered that question. And Devahuti asked about process of jnana and also processes of yoga. And Kapila Dev talks about Sankhya yoga, and the Sankhya is the, path of jnana, and characteristics of the Prakriti Purusha, and how Jiva is conditioned in the state, and he also talks about limbs of Ashtanga yoga. And the question 5 asks about the path of bhakti. She wants us uh, uh, explain the path of bhakti. And question 6 asks about the nature of the time. Question 6, 7, she asks about the how do this jiva entangle in the continual birth of death, and how can he come out of it? So to answering these 5, 6, and 7 questions, now Kapil Deva is concluding what are the various classes of bhakti, and what is the characteristics of pure bhakti, and dangers of offenses. And in this verse 37, it talks about, as Kapila is telling, that I have explained you the process of devotional service and its identity in 4 different social divisions. And also he talks about that, I have already explained to you the how eternal time is chasing the living entities, although it is imperceptible to them. So and also it says that, process of bhakti yoga is like a, how tributaries join the main rivers to reach the sea. Here the sea is the absolute truth. And same, the tributaries are compared to a different paths of bhakti, like jnana, karma yoga, and other things. And in this verse is mentioned that the time factor, is not perceptible to us, but time is also a form of uh, Krishna, is also a representative of Supreme Personality of Godhead. And time factor is the one causes the transmission of various material manifestations, and is also another feature of Supreme Personality of Godhead. I think this we went through this in one of the previous chapters in this canto. And time is eternal time has no beginning and end, and a devotee it desires only serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this servitude exists eternally. Um, and only because of the time, right? The universe is dissolved, and even the Lord of Death also dissolved, like Yamaraja at the end of this life. So That's how it talks about the how time factor, and anyone who doesn't know the time is the afraid of the time factor. But one who is performing the devotional service, one is then one is who has a faith in Krishna and perform bhakti, he doesn't fear for anything. So only the ones who who are into material entanglement, material activities, are they fear of the time, or time will take away whatever the opulences, material fame, name, anything they achieve in this life just can be taken away just by blink of an eye, and which is due to that time. And in the verse 38, all talks about how various varieties of material existence, people perform, and that is happens only due to the forgetfulness or performing in the mode of ignorance. And uh, and Kapiladev also mentioning that whoever is enters into this forgetfulness, in the nesites, you know uh, unable to understand how to come out of it. There is no ending for this birth and life cycle. And uh, and it says that one who is continuing this material existence, material activities, and it's very difficult to come out. But with the mercy of the supreme personality of Godhead, he comes of himself, or he sends his bona fide representatives to help these conditioned souls to come out of these clutches of Maya, or come out of this material entanglement. And also he gives us scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, through which living entities can come out of the darkness, and it gives the knowledge, torchlight of uh, knowledge. So one who takes advantage of these instructions, and also the saintly persons, senior devotees, especially the gurus, spiritual masters are there to help the mission of Krishna and Krishna consciousness, and help the conditioned soul get out of this material thing or material sufferings. Unless living entity receives the mercy of saintly persons, or Krishna conscious person, or spiritual master, it is not possible to get out of this darkness of ignorance. So I think that's where, you know, because of the previous life, people can do pious activities and get into a devotional life, or he born into a devotee's family. And another way, only one way one can come to God conscious, or come to bhakti, is only the mercy of the saintly persons, or mercy of the devotees, or association of the devotees. And that, coming to the text 39 to next few verses, Kapila is talking about how these teachings, whose these teachings are not for, and whose these teachings are for. So this instruction Kapiladev is telling in the verse 39 is not meant for people who are envious, who are proud, who are agnostic, and who have different views, who are materially attached, who are attached to the family affairs, who are attached to the who does perform the mundane things, and those who don't believe in the God, and those who hate the devotees, or Lord, or atheists. So these teachings what we have gone through for last few chapters is not for any of these people, or any of these kind of personalities. This is only for devotees, who are eager, who are respectable, who follow the spiritual injunctions and all those things. So those will come in the next few verses. So in summary, in the first verse talks about how the tributaries merge into the river to reach the absolute truth, and all the processes mentioned in so far in this chapter, different forms of jnana or bhakti, is to ultimately to reach the absolute truth. But depend upon how one Lord is same, but he appears different in scripturally, depend upon how people practice, or what path they choose to lead to the Bhagavan realization. And performing in the ignorance or forgetfulness of real identity is the cause of bondage, and it's not easy to get out of that entanglement. Only with the mercy of saintly persons, or devotees, one can uh, one can get to the knowledge, or one can get how to one can see how to get the knowledge and all. And also the time is, is a supreme factor. But people who are in this material entanglement and material activities, who cannot pursue the time, which is the cause of everything. Everything will be taken out in the blink of eye, and time is the one. Kala is destroys everything whatever one achieves materially. And only for spiritual activities eternal, and time cannot do anything with the time cannot deteriorate or impact on the spiritual activities. And Kapiladeva mentioned in the last verse about whom these instructions are not meant for. People who are envious, people who are have different views, who are proud, who are attached to mundane things, family affairs, and who hates the devotees, or who are not devotees. These instructions are not meant for them. Please forgive me for any shortcomings. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, everyone.